What's up, guys? In this video I'm going to show you how we do the framing on this 24 by 24 garage build. If you missed part one of this, of us pouring this monolithic slab, I'll leave a link in the description and the card up top. What we're getting ready to do here is we drew our lines, snapped some chalk lines here. We got everything squared out. So now we're gonna move this top plate over this way, lay all the studs in, and then nail them from the top and the bottom, and then stand them up. I pre-drilled all of our holes for our anchor bolts. We got to put the anchor bolts within 1 foot of the corner and then 4 foot on center after that. We're a little bit closer together. We're like closer to 3 foot on center all the way down. We swept off this bottom and now we're going to stand each one up one at a time. Then I have these 12-foot 2x4s over there that we'll use to brace the wall, and then we're going to drill our anchor bolts in. These are our roof trusses they just delivered. This is a pretty cool truck. They have all these rollers, so I guess it's just all gonna roll right off. I was over here thinking we were gonna have to figure something out with the Bobcat. Oh, I see what. So the camera crapped out. These batteries in the cold, story of my life. But basically he was just jolting. He reversed, hit the brakes, and they kind of just rolled off pretty easily. So we're going to keep rock and rolling. So let me show you guys our progress so far. We got pretty much all the framing done other than the roof trusses. You can see here, this is going to be our entry door. What we did a triple 2x12 for the header, 2 2x6s for the jack studs. We're going to cut out that bottom plate. I'll just use the Sawzall and cut it across on the bottom on each side. I just want to, before we do that, I just want to get our door here just in case our rough opening needs adjustment. Like if this opening was too big, you know, you could just add another piece of wood to make it a little smaller, and you want that wood to sit on the bottom sill plate. So that's why I'm not cutting that out yet. Here's our header for a garage door. Now this wall, this is the gable wall, so it's not really like a structural header, so to speak, right? Because this wall is not load bearing. On this type of A-frame construction, all the load is on the outside wall, so this wall and this wall. But nonetheless, we built a header here. This one I added in a 1-inch piece of wood. That's a 1x12, and then three of the 2x12s. That was just to fill it out all the way. I didn't have enough to put that in on this one, but it's fine. So we added these cross bracings to tighten everything up and to make sure we kept the wall square. Now we were out of square a tiny bit up top when we measured diagonally this way and diagonally this way. Those measurements weren't the same, so we had to do some adjustment. You can see we have this ratchet strap right here. You know, I just have it over down there on the trencher. We cranked it that way a little bit, and then this corner, I'll show you, we actually used the mini here, and there's, you can see there's a little dirt mark right there. I pushed the framing that way, and then we checked our measurements again. Oh, Phil's dropping stuff. Dangerous man over there on a ladder with a saw. And then we rechecked our measurements, and then everything was square. So then that is when we added some of this cross bracing, that top corner cross bracing, this piece on this wall and on that wall, and then we did this side wall. And then I removed the excavator and we checked it to see if it twisted back, and it didn't. Everything stayed in place. So we know that we're square. We're getting ready to start putting our roof trusses on. I marked out where they're all going to go. They're 2 foot on center right there, and you know, one down there for the gable wall. This is what we're starting with. We're starting with the gable wall truss, which is that one right down there. I put these 3 braces on, so when we stand it up, it'll hold back and hopefully not tip off too easy. It's just me and Phil, so it should be interesting. These are 24 foot, well, the building's 24 foot, so those are actually like 26 with the little eave overhang. So we'll see how it goes. Not to mention, you can look at the trees over there. There's a little bit of wind, so it should be interesting. Either it's going to go good and we're going to look like professionals, or we're going to drop it and it's going to be a fail video. What do you think, Phil?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
I want to hear confidence. I want to hear there's no way that this is going to go wrong.
There's nothing that could go wrong.
There we go. Okay. We're ready now. You all right?
Yeah, I think so. Now.
Keep it straight. Keep it straight.
I got to move down.
Just got to keep it up, man, all right?
Yep. All right?
Yeah, I'm fine. going this way. Focus on making sure it stays straight the whole time.
Oh, yeah, that's loud.
So it worked out pretty good. I mean, it didn't fall, so there's not much more you can ask for. We got it up there. I nailed this 2x4 down on top of our top plates so we can nail the truss to this. And it's fairly sturdy, especially with these in place. And then as we start putting more trusses up, they all get tied together. So that's really what braces it all. And then another thing I don't think I mentioned, if you notice, we didn't put the sheathing on here or the front wall, because I realized that I want to tie in this wall with the gable wall. So I want this to be one sheet to go, you know, up and down, so there's not a hinge point right here, because otherwise we would have put the other piece of sheathing in, it would have stopped here, and then, you know, on the outside it would have stopped here, and then you know, the next piece of sheathing would have been from there up, and that would have been right at this hinge point, so to speak. So I figured, I don't know if it's necessary, I just figured it'd be better if it was together. So I might run them vertically, so that way the joint is not across there. Got some snow flurries coming down this morning. I'm surprised Phil didn't call out, but he's here. I got a feeling though today's gonna be a good day, because I feel like a professional. I just purchased this framing hammer, and I feel like the whole job is gonna take a turn for the best. Check it out, look how this thing works. Put a nail in, let's see. Bang! Yeah. Now what I'm getting ready to do is get our lateral bracing in, and we already put 3 in yesterday. That was that guy there, that guy, and then that one. So now we just have to extend them. Now when you order these trusses, it comes kind of with like a blueprint on what they want you to do as far as bracing goes and things like that. So that's what they spec'd out. The bracing needs to overlap by like 3 trusses. So we're just gonna throw these 16 footers up there. I think they'll end up overlapping by like 4. And then we're gonna put in a couple extra kickers to the gable wall.
It's all you.
So once I get it in place, I check my mark. You see we got our line right there. And then, let me get my head tucked in. And then our line right there. And then we just go down. You can see that one. So this I'll have to pull over this way just a little bit. You can't see our mark there. Same thing with that. So I'll just pull on this guy and shoot a nail in it to get it into place. I just added our 3 hurricane ties. There's one there in the middle, and then one towards the end. And we also put up these 2-foot sections of plywood. And the reason why I went with 2 foot is so we could use a full sheet to tie the gable truss in with the wall. I think I mentioned it before, like you don't really want a hinge point between the wall and the gable itself. I mean, it has bracing and all that, but it's still good for the sheathing to just be one full piece. So it'll be one full piece here, another one in the middle, another one on the end, and we'll have to, you know, fill in the top. We just finished up the back gable wall. We sheathed that just like we did the front. We got all the sheathing done inside here. We have our fascia board up on both sides. That's a 2x6 we used, and then the soffit will just run back from the bottom of the board to the building. So now we're getting ready to put the roof sheathing on. What we have here is 5/8 plywood. We went ahead and cut one piece in half, and there's enough on here for us to do hopefully our first 3 rows. It should get us within about 2 feet of the peak. So the bottom row is going to be 3 full sheets, and then the next row, you know, you got to stagger your joints or your seams. So we'll put a 4-foot sheet on, 2 8-foot pieces, and then another 4-foot, and then the third row will end up being 3 8-footers again. So we have to use these clips. They're going to go between the trusses. Since the trusses are 2 foot on center, they put these clips to kind of tie the plywood in together so you don't get as much flex. But we're getting everything loaded up here on the skid steer, and the plan is to pull up right here and then lift it up to the corner, and then hopefully we'll be able to just slide everything up from there. We just wrapped up getting all of our roof sheathing on. I think I mentioned this is 5/8 plywood, and we had to install these clips in between the trusses or the rafters because of the spacing. These are 2 foot on center. It's to my understanding, if your roof was 16 on center, you wouldn't have to use these clips. And they basically call out for these so there's not like flex between. We also got our ridge vent cut. Again, a buddy of mine who's the GC said it's a good idea to put this in there so there's a way for moisture and stuff to escape. We're gonna put vented soffit in, so you know there'll be a little bit of airflow. The next thing to do is we're gonna take care of this guy right here, this branch. Got the pole saw up here. I'm gonna chop it up, get this down. This tree is super dead. You can see it hasn't had leaves grow on it in years, and I want to get this chopped up before the branches eventually fall and then potentially mess up the shingles. I was going to do it before we started building, but then I figured why not put the building up, and then we have a platform to stand on, and we'll just cut it up in small pieces. Nothing's going to do any like real damage to this plywood. But yeah, we're going to get rocking and rolling on that. After we knock this out, I'll bring you guys inside the garage, show you everything in there, and I'll go over some of the things we did and a couple of mistakes that we made and a couple things that I probably would have did a little bit differently. So we'll get to that in a minute though. Those trees trimmed, that was fun. I tell you, something I didn't think about. You get a little bit of sawdust on this plywood and it turns into an ice rink real quick. But we kept using the blower and blowing the dust off, and we threw some moving blankets down so when the branches were hitting, you know, they weren't doing any damage. But yeah, the bigger pieces, some of those I was chopping and Phil was kind of giving them a push on their way down, so they were falling down on the side. I basically cut everything that's overhanging the garage. I'll give you a view from down here. You can see we pretty much got everything. There's the edge. It's just a little bit of overhang there. Then that's smaller stuff up top, but I don't think that's really going to be a problem. But let me give you guys a little tour of what it looks like inside. These high ceilings really make it seem pretty big in here. Well, we got all the sheathing in all the way around, all the roof sheathing's done. Up top, you can see there's gaps. I think I may have mentioned it earlier, we had to use those clips. Those clips provide a little bit of, I guess, structural integrity between the trusses. It also makes like a 1/8 inch gap, and they say that's for like expansion and contraction of the roof. So that's why you see those gaps. And then the middle is the ridge gap, which is going to be the ridge vent. But all the walls are done. We removed all the bracing. Oh, let me get to the things that, you know, I guess was kind of a mistake and some things we would have did a little bit differently. For starters, when we built these walls, I built them 16 on center. And what I didn't know, and it's because I don't do this all the time, your first stud, well, I guess your second stud, this stud and this stud should not be 16 on center. It should be 16 from the outside edge. So pretend this is the outside edge here. It should be 16 on center when it lands on here, and you can see it's not. It's 16 to the outside. Because what I did was, you know, I put it on the center of that stud and went right here and we did 16 on center. And what that did was we had to scoot our plywood up 3/4 of an inch. Otherwise it was going to be too short when it got to the 8 foot mark. So keep that in mind. Another thing is back here, when we added this wall in, this was like, we built this again, same way, 16 on center. But the problem was I didn't think about this first stud should have been 16 from the outside edge of this one, right? So it should have fell right there. I shouldn't have just built this wall like this. So this stud needed to be here and so on and so forth. So we had to trim the plywood a little bit. It wasn't, you know, a huge deal because it's not, you know, mean, it's a decent sized wall, but we had to make a couple extra cuts. And luckily it turned out there wasn't a lot of waste, which was really what I was worried about. You know, we had to take like 8 inches off. We ran it, and then the next sheet, instead of it being like 4 foot like it would if the wall was all square, it was end up like 4.8 or something like that. So keep that in mind. Again, this is not something I do all the time, so you know, some mistakes are, you know, would come with that territory, but thankfully it wasn't a big one. The other thing I probably would have done differently, and I'm going to include this in the next video, is I would have used the zip board, which is this green board that already has the, I guess we'll call it weatherproofing built into it, and then you just zip tape the seams. What we have to do now, before we do the siding, we got to do a house wrap, like that Tyvek wrap. Again, it's not that big of a deal, but it would have been a lot easier just to tape up these seams compared to, you know, having to wrap it and staple it and move the ladders around and all that, you know, good stuff. But again, you know, that's something, and there's not a huge price difference. I think it's actually almost about the same price. These boards, the zip boards, are like $4 more a sheet compared to these, and then that tape's kind of expensive. It's like 30 bucks, but I did the math. We would have had to get like 5 rolls, so it still wouldn't have been that much, because that Tyvek wrap's not cheap either. The Tyvek's going to cost us like 200 bucks. So, but all in all, everything's coming out pretty good so far, I would say. You see right here, that's that 3/4 we had to move it in. Again, this is no big deal, because I mean, it's not affecting anything structurally, and when we go and put the siding up, you know, you put that corner piece on, and the corner piece gets nailed like way over here and way over here. So this gap's nothing. No one's ever going to know that it's there, except me, and I will lose a little bit of sleep over it, probably for a couple days. But no, I'm just kidding. I've already forgotten about it. But yeah, so thanks for watching this video, guys. If you got any questions and comments, of course, leave them down below. You can see I started building our one rack yesterday. I'm going to put another one, you know, it's going to attach to it right here. We're going to add another shelf to it. And then I may or may not, I'm not 100% sure, I may build 1 or 2 right here. I don't want it to be too tight in here. The goal was to be able to park all the machines in here, the 80, you know, the T66, the Bobcat, and then the smaller Kubota. And it's tight. With these racks in here, when you lay out a tape measure, you could put the Bobcat 1 foot away from the rack, and then 1 foot away from the Bobcat, the 80 fits, and then you got 1 foot and then the other rack. So it's super tight, but I think they'll all fit. And then the idea is, if I ever need to like work on my truck, let's say, I would just pull the machines out, pull the truck in, and I'll have a big open area. But like I said, I don't know. I don't know if I need racking on this side as well. So I'm gonna build these 2 and, you know, make a decision from there, because it'd be nice to have a little bit of wiggle room. You know, if I can get the 80 a little closer to the wall over there, then that makes this space much bigger. And if I needed to work on my truck, instead of pulling everything out, I may be able to just pull out the Bobcat and the Mini, but we'll see. So for the next video that's going to come up is going to be the house wrap, the siding, you know, the roofing. We got the garage door, we got the entrance door that we're going to put in over there. So basically all the finishing touches. So stay tuned for that one. And those of you, you know, that may not be interested in this stuff, just so you know, I have a job coming up, a house demolition job. The house is real old. It's I think it's from like 18 something, the late 1800s. So there's a lot of stonework and stuff like that, but it's going to cost too much for the guy to restore it, so it needs to be knocked down. It's a pretty cool job. That'll be a pretty cool video, I'm hoping. So stay tuned for that one, and I'll catch you on the next one.